Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today I want to talk to you about breaking the shackles of Apple. Or rather the shackles as they're known in this house. Apple-Shackles. Shackles. It is the case. It is true. I am no longer a follower of the great Apple, or an Appleite as they're known in this house. Apple, acolyte, Appleite. I know, you're welcome. Actually, I think it was my lovely wife who came up with Appleite. But it's true, I am no longer an Appleite. I have hung up my genius blue hooded robe of dedication and handed in all paraphernalia of discipleship to the jobs with one simple act. Yesterday, I picked up my first Android smartphone in the shape of the Google Pixel 3a XL. And I love this phone. This phone already is fantastic, not least because of the size of the wallpaper there, Link's Awakening. Mwah. But I'm not here to talk about my new phone, that's boring. I'm here to reflect on the end of an era, the end of a relationship, I think, with a device that at first genuinely added to my life. The promise of the iPhone was so great, and for a while it delivered on that promise. But over the years it became something that you had to stand and stick by, and eventually it became the shackles. It became the thing that was holding me back and holding me in an increasingly uncomfortable situation. And so yesterday I hung up my Appleite robes. Now, back in 2008, I was living and working in York as an archaeologist / Viking. And it was a great job. But also, it was a very special time, because at that time, the promise of the smartphone, in fact, the smartphone itself, was just about starting to become a viable thing. You see, there had been smartish phones prior to 2007, 2008. I remember in 2004 getting a device that promised a lot and thinking it'd be really helpful as a student, to take notes in lectures, this kind of thing. It had a fold out or a slide down physical keyboard. It had a little touch screen with a stylus and all this potential. But it was rubbish. Very quickly I learned that the documents I produced on the device weren't really compatible with anything else. The screen resolution was awful. It didn't really work properly as a phone, for gaming, for media. It was a jack of all trades and a master of none at all whatsoever. And also at that point, mobile internet was just terrible. The quantum leap from 2004 to 2007 in what mobile internet could do and be was just astonishing. I remember seeing websites on that old phone just destroyed, ruined in terms of their presentation, really crudely rendered with nasty pixelated hyperlinks and badly formatted images and logos that had been squashed by the phone. Video playback was a joke, really, not least because of the resolution, but also it was really expensive at that point to use these things. And so throughout my time at uni, I didn't bother really with a smart phone. I had a Nokia something or other, I think, as soon as I could get rid of that smart device in my first year. But in 2007, 2008, something happened, and that was the release of the iPhone. And I remember one of the big sales pitches for the iPhone in those early days was the internet.
This is not a watered-down version of the internet, or the mobile version of the internet, or the kinda sorta looks like the internet. It's just the internet on your phone.
Actually seeing in your hand what you saw on the desktop screen, websites formatted correctly. easy to use links and zooming, things like pinch to zoom, and all this stuff was coming about in an increasingly attractive way. Now, at the same time, I was living on my own really for the first time. I had been obviously living in uni away from home for most of the year, but that wasn't really on my own. I had housemates and I was often going home. Living and working in York, I was really on my own for the first time, and I just moved away from my then girlfriend, who became my fiance and who then became my wife. A 2-hour car journey. So I wanted to be able to keep in touch with people who I loved, and my friends and family, but also the prospect of being increasingly productive as well at that time, post university, going into my first job, developing as an archaeologist and as a filmmaker, because of the ability to have email and phone and text and websites and other things in your hand, in your pocket. It was all coming together at the right time, and so I committed. I got a fairly expensive contract for the time, and also frankly for my wage, but it was worth it. It added to my life. It made me instantly more productive, but also it kept me connected, as I say, with those people who I wanted to keep in touch with in various ways, as opposed to just having phone and text. And that's how it began in 2008 with the iPhone 3G. And that was good. It was good. For a time, it was good. But then in 2009, the iPhone 3GS was released. And this was very exciting, really taking advantage of 3G internet. And crucially, building on some of the things that I'd started to notice as weaknesses in the 3G. The iPhone 3G, you couldn't, for example, copy and paste text, I seem to recall. One thing that I was yearning for back then on my 3G, which had a beautiful curved back, incidentally. The body of the 3G was wonderful. But one of the things I was yearning for was the ability, when using Google Maps, to actually be able to orientate the map in the direction that I was facing. I used to sort of just think, wouldn't it be amazing if I didn't have to do this to know how this map related to the world around me? But the 3GS included a digital compass. There was also things like voice control, a sort of an incipient version of Siri, I guess, and also video recording was becoming an option. And so actually a year later, after my first iPhone, I got the 3GS, and that one was excellent. And I'm pretty sure I stuck with that until the 4S, the iPhone 4S. Now with the iPhone 4, when it was announced, I remember seeing Steve Jobs doing his presentation and talking great guns about the gyroscope inside the phone. It was going to make motion controls more accurate. It was going to make navigation better. But also he did this thing where I think he was playing like a Jenga app, and he was spinning around on stage, using the gyroscope to sort of to know which way the phone was facing. And again, it was adding to the usefulness of the device. It was a slightly more esoteric usefulness, in so much as this wasn't as immediately useful as being able to copy and paste or record video. But I remember being excited by it, and with the 4S, they included 1080p video recording, and there was also actually Siri for the first time as well. And so with Siri and HD video recording, the 4S was then my next iPhone. And throughout this time, we shouldn't underestimate the App Store either. The App Store was a real sales point for the iPhone from very early on. I remember with the 3G, showing my friends, oh, look at this, look, this it's a lightsaber. The lightsaber app, where the blade comes up on the screen and it could measure the movement of the phone and make noises, was very exciting. We wanted it to be able to sort of register other phones so we could have like invisible fights, but that was, I don't think that still isn't a thing. I don't think anyway. But it was exciting, and it was a gimmick, undoubtedly. But the App Store, there's an app for that. Really became part of the lingo, as it were. Another one that I remember being very popular when I was in York was there was a beer app. There was an app, I think it was from Carling, where the phone screen became a glass, and as you sort of tipped it, it would empty out the beer, and then when you put it back up again, it would refill. Gimmicks, incipient apps, but again a real sales point for these phones. And the 4S actually is how I began my YouTube career. So a big part of what became my business actually started with a YouTube channel, and I couldn't have done it without the iPhone. The 4S was how I filmed, edited, and uploaded my first business and archaeology related footage online. So I owe it. In that sense, I owe this platform an awful lot of my career, actually, the beginnings of my career at least. I used to sit on the floor in front of a bookcase, put the phone on a box that was in front of me, hope that I was in frame, and then edit it all on an app called Splice that I think is still available on the App Store. But crucially, it was free to download and use. And it was a brilliant app. You could also do Ken Burns effects on photos, zooming into photos, this kind of thing. So the 4S was excellent. With the iPhone 5, in came the Lightning connector, so the way that your phone connected to other things changed. And I didn't get the 5. I did, however, get the 5S. And that was when they introduced Touch ID. So the home button had a fingerprint scanner, dual flash, so an amber colour to the flash, which made skin colour turn up a bit nicer in the dark, and slow motion video, which was kind of cool, again, from that sort of adding to the capacity and the capabilities of the device. Some people suggest that the death of Steve Jobs in 2011 really marked a crucial turning point and a change of attitude and culture at Apple that they've never really recovered from. The leadership of Tim Cook has been increasingly lackluster, and the iPhone in particular has become increasingly stingy and incremental in its improvements, with some improvements that no one is asking for. I'm hearing rumours that the next iPhone will have a 3D camera. Why? Why? And it feels as though there's a lack of ideas, but also crucially a lack of real solid application to improving people's lives with more recent iPhone models. The last iPhone that I was excited by was the 6S, my last iPhone, the iPhone on the shelf behind me. It included features that had been in other phones for a while, things like NFC, near-field communication, the ability to pay for things out and about. I often lose my bank card, I do often lose my bank card, but I often forget my bank card when I'm out and about. So it was useful to be able to use my phone to pay for things. And that's it. And even though that came out in 2015, it's clear that the fingerprints of Jobs were still on upcoming Apple designs. He was privy to what was in the pipeline. Obviously, with an annual turnover of new models, there was always something else being developed and new ideas on the horizon. But it's clear that when that influence, those ideas started to run dry, this incremental increase, things like the Apple SE, the 7 and 7 Plus in 2016, the 8 and 8 Plus in 2017, really just speed and size of the phone, with things like rose gold backings on the back of the phone, or red, I think was a recent inclusion. And then jumping in 2017 to the iPhone X, $1,000 phone, and then the XS and XS Max last year in 2018. And the XR, which by some measures is actually a technological downgrade, just show this tepid growth, this tepid development of an idea that initially, at least, was genuinely interesting and exciting, and was genuinely changing how people interacted with the internet, frankly, with productivity, with each other. Things like FaceTime and other developments are no longer on the horizon, and that's a real shame. So yesterday, when I went into the phone store to talk about changing my phone, and incidentally, I'm only moving away from this phone because it's stopped working properly. The earpiece is super quiet. For a little while I thought I was actually losing my hearing. Genuinely, I was going, does this sound quiet to you? To other people, no, yes, that's a very quiet phone. So it's breaking. That's why I'm replacing it after 3.5, 4 years. When I went into the store, it was funny because the guy saw that I had an iPhone. He went, you'll be wanting the iPhone then? Okay, let me show you our range. And I'm on a SIM-only contract. I'm really enjoying paying about £15 a month and getting 9 gigabytes of data and unlimited texts. I'm really enjoying that. So I wanted to try and buy the device outright if I could. I recently had a couple of big jobs come in. So I figured I would try, and if I could. And when I saw the prices of these things now, the iPhone XR that he first showed me was £750, and that's the one that the resolution and other aspects are disappointing compared to previous iPhones, going by the reviews. The XS that then he showed me was £1,025. £1,025. I could not face that, despite the slight fear of losing access to the App Store or iTunes that I've invested time and money in. Previously it was those ecosystems that really kept me tethered to, shackled to my iPhone. But yesterday that wasn't enough. I was happy to walk away from those things and also keep using this as a sort of iPod, I guess, and also use it, for example, with my drone or whatever. So I'm not actually losing the App Store necessarily. But the point is, it no longer feels as vital or as interesting, as exciting, or as though it is adding to my life rather than just taking from my wallet. And so, after 10 years, 11 years I guess, almost, I have ended my relationship with the iPhone. And I don't think I'll be going back anytime soon, unless something drastic changes, unless Apple really modifies their attitude, comes up with a relatively low-priced, interesting technological offering. There's no reason to go back. Now, I'm aware this isn't necessarily the most exciting or interesting video for everyone out there, but for me it has been important just to think about why the iPhone initially excited me so much, and how that soured over the years, how it became the shackles holding me back instead of the device that was really enabling me to live and to connect with people and to do things that previously I couldn't do. It was a liberating device. It represented access to, if nothing else, things like the internet quickly and easily, and in a user-friendly way. But no longer. £1,000 is not user-friendly. Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Hopefully this has made some sort of sense, and I suspect I'm not on my own in having the iPhone somewhat sour in their experience. Actually, transferring to this device was a doddle. I plugged them into each other. This one came with an adapter, and most of the contacts and apps and data and the wallpapers just transferred straight over. It's a different world that we're in now, and I, for one, am really happy to be embracing it. Do let me know below if you have any similar stories, and don't worry, next week I'll talk a little bit about our trip to Ireland, because the flat cap, etc., warrants explanation. As ever, until next time, do take care. Bye bye.